The Strymon timeline delay is still in production, and at $449, it's priced towards the premium end of the gear spectrum. But that hasn't stopped worship players around the world, myself included, from populating our boards for the Sunday service. And for good reason. It's a great delay pedal. We love its tone so much, we don't mind admitting we only use about 3 settings on it. Don't take it from me though, the Droff himself said it.
The timeline, I find it very versatile. Now there's a lot you can do on it. Playing live, I'll probably use about 3 settings of it.
In fact, Andy Timmons, before he got the Keeley Halo, said this about his timeline.
This thing does a bazillion things, and I got 2 settings I use. But I know there's cool sounds waiting for me.
So the professionals are using the timeline as a much more accessible and affordable version of vintage gear.
Yeah, they're quite a feat keeping those going. They're getting harder to find those tapes too. Yeah, it's amazing that they're still working. I don't know if they ever designed them to last forever, but...
Looking at it this way, the value and utility of a timeline is justifiable, and so we go to great lengths to get one.
And I knew I needed to have it, even to the point of selling half of my pedal board in order to finance it, but it was definitely worth it.
But I think there's a problem. With its stringent power requirements, bigger pedal form factor, and again, its hefty price tag, integrating the timeline into a pedal board is a sacrifice and a commitment. Not all of us want to invest in bigger, isolated power supplies and pedal board real estate. If you don't need a bazillion sounds, MIDI control, perhaps you could try the Cusack Rebound delay. It's $260, has the essential worship sounds that we need, can store presets, has a lower power requirement at 77 milliamps to the timeline's 300 milliamps, and has a smaller form factor that's pedal board friendly. Is the Cusack Rebound a possible contender to the timeline? Let's find out in today's A/B test, where I've set up the pod to go with a stereo FX loop. The only difference in the tone will be the Rebound and the timeline's Bucket Brigade and dual delays. A shout out to today's sponsor, Cusack Music, who kindly sent me this Rebound delay unit. For due diligence, I must declare that I get to keep this low serial number unit, making it a definite keeper. But they've had no say in today's video. Thank you, Cusack, and may the best pedal win. Here we have the timeline set up with the D bucket mode, which will correspond to the Deluxe Memory Man, and we're going to see if we can get the same kind of vibe with the timeline as well as with the Cusack Rebound. So we can hear that the degradation is there. It's quite pleasant, as would a Bucket Brigade system be. Let's turn the grid down a little bit, and let's just turn the modulation up. Already we can start to see some wobble and shake as you would with the Deluxe Memory Man. I'm going to turn this even more drastically, see what I can get. It's getting a bit seasick here. Oh, those repeats are very dark. There's a very big contrast to this Stratocaster where it's nice and bright and the repeats are so dark. It's almost like 2 different guitars being played at the same time. Now that's pretty cool. Turn the filter down. Let's keep the grid there. I'm going to turn the mix down slightly, and I'm going to turn this depth up to halfway and the speed minimum. This is roughly how I would like my Deluxe Memory Man sound to sound like. Let's change over to the Cusack Rebound and see what we have. You can see that it's a lot smaller than the timeline. That difference in size extends beyond just the physical size. It's also a lot less power hungry. It needs about 77 milliamps of power as opposed to the TimeLine's 300 milliamps of power. That has a direct effect on how easy it is to implement the pedal onto a pedal board. So I'm on program number 1, which is mod analog. That's supposed to be the Deluxe Memory Man, the big box version. And there's a lot less controls on the Rebound, and decidedly so because it's supposed to be a simpler delay. So I'm going to turn this to minimum and set this up to medium mix and medium feedback just to be in the same ballpark as what we started out with the TimeLine. So here it is without modulation. Now, even at the modulation at minimum, you can still tell there's a little bit of chorusing going on. And that is the ballpark of how I like the Deluxe Memory to sound like, because this parameter now controls the modulation, and it's not like the TimeLine where you got a dedicated speed and depth control. This one just does a basic adjustment across the board. And consequently, as I turn up this knob, it's going to be a lot easier to reach C6 levels as opposed to the TimeLine, which has a bit more granular control. If I turn this up any higher, I'm going to get a little bit more Cusacky. So right about here is where I like the settings for the mod analog, which is the Deluxe Memory Man. The next delay that I've loaded up is the dotted eighth and the quarter note dual delay. Now these are the settings for this delay. You hear that it goes back and forth between the speakers. Now you can tell that there's a lot of chorusing going on. What if I turn this down and actually, in fact, I'll turn the chorus off. And I'll turn the grid up. Yeah, we can hear how it darkens up just a little bit. Now, grid and filter are important for, let's say, if you wanted an overdrive sound and you didn't want the delays to be too distinct. Like for example, if I had to turn the overdrive on using a Timmy, you can hear that's very bright between the speakers. If I turn up the grid and the filter, I should be able to achieve a much more paddy effect where the delay doesn't become so much of an effect, it becomes part of the tone. Now I'm going to try the second delay, which is a dual delay. Now, unlike the TimeLine, which automatically does the tap tempo sync for you between the quarter note and the dotted eighth in each respective speaker. You got the data's in yourself. It's not ideal, but you can save different tempos of this program as presets. So if you need to have data eighth and quarter note for 4 different songs, you can set 4 presets with 4 different BPMs, no problem. Hello, editor Justin here. As you can see, I was totally off form during this recording and took way longer to get the feel of the dual delay down. If you need a dual delay setting quickly and automatically, the TimeLine has an edge over the Rebound because it has a tap tempo sync. I'm told that in the future, the Rebound's dual delay program will have the parameter knob control the subdivision of the second delay in relation to the first delay, rather than control the delay time you see here. Something to look forward to. What about you? Which delay are you gravitating towards? Are there features that I've missed out that makes you choose one over the other? Let me know in the comments. If you got value out of this video, like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to grow the channel and join the community. Check out my Buy Me a Coffee page where you can directly support the channel. So after all that's said and done, let's sit down and do some comparisons. Let's first consider which one has more value. $449 is a lot to be sinking into one pedal, and for most of us to be only using 2 to 3 sounds out of it means we don't actually need the bulk of its features. At $260, you're able to achieve similar levels of tone quality while fitting the everyday use case of the average player much closer. As far as sound quality goes, the TimeLine isn't twice the pedal that the Rebound is, so for value, I'm going with the Cusack Rebound. Second, let's consider which pedal has more utility. For worship players with big boards, this factor is very important. You want a pedal that easily syncs with your rig, whether through MIDI or tap tempo input. The TimeLine has a robust MIDI and expression system, while the Rebound does not. You're going to have to tap tempo every single time you change songs in a set, while the TimeLine will accept MIDI clock and tempo automation. So for utility, the point goes to the TimeLine. Third, let's consider tweakability. While utility has to do with a pedal's inputs and outputs, tweakability refers to how much control we have over the tone, shaping it to our liking. The TimeLine obviously has a leg up over the Rebound, with the demo showing that the modulation level of seasickness is much more tweakable than the Rebound's single parameter knob controlling both rate and depth. However, will we really go to that level of seasickness? Musically speaking, mild to moderate is where we'll land with most parameters, as anything extreme is harder to integrate into the Sunday service. I find that the Rebound's distillation of parameter control is a breath of fresh air, and I won't get option paralysis or even just general creative paralysis looking at the sheer number of parameters that the TimeLine can adjust. With that in mind, both pedals get a point. For the extreme gearheads amongst us who need absolute minute control, the TimeLine's your choice. For those who prefer something more streamlined and easy to tweak, the Rebound's your choice. Ultimately, you need to consider your budget and station in life. Building a big board with MIDI control and needing to automate everything on stage because you're a music director? TimeLine. Building an everyday musician Sunday serving board that doesn't need the bells and whistles of control but still have amazing tone? Rebound. I've previously done a review video of the Cusack Rebound that you can check out after this. Click on the video and I'll see you there.